Today's video is inspired by my international viewers, and it's all about how to work for clients in the United States when you live abroad, when you live outside the United States. So if this doesn't apply to you, I totally understand. Go ahead and check out some of the other videos that I have linked in the description box and consider subscribing for a new video every week. And if we haven't met before, my name is Morgan and my website is FinePoints.biz. In today's video, I'm going to talk about two main things. It's working from outside the US either with an LLC or without an LLC. And first I'll talk about what is an LLC. And then definitely stay tuned for part 2 because I'm going to talk about how to get clients if you are working from outside the United States. So the first method I'm going to talk about is to do it without an LLC, because I think this is probably going to be the easiest for you, and depending on your situation, probably will work out just fine. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and it's just a way in the US that we form a business. So you can form like a corporation, or if you're just by yourself, you can be a sole proprietor, but in order to make a business, you need to legally make a business entity. So a limited liability company is the option that I recommend for bookkeepers. And as you might imagine, I do not have personal experience with any of these things, so I'm gonna link in the description box some of the resources that I used. So according to my research, the most important thing that you're gonna need to do is check the laws in your own country and see if there's any regulations or any hoops that you need to jump through in order to work in another country. I did find that we in the United States are allowed to hire foreign contractors. And in the United States, there's kind of two different groups of workers. There's employees that are hired by a bigger company and they, it's kind of like the company is like protecting them or taking care of them, probably paying benefits and paying their taxes especially. And a contractor is a separate type of worker who sets their own hours, uses their own equipment, and pays their own taxes. So you can look at the IRS website and there's a little quiz you can take to see if you are qualified as a contractor. As a bookkeeper, I do work as a contractor for my clients. And then in the US, employees get a W-2 at the end of the year. A contractor gets a 1099. But if you're a foreign person working in the US, they will give you a different form, and it is called a W-8BEN. So hopefully your employer might know about this or might be able to do some research and figure it out, but just make sure at the end of the year that is what you are getting, and then you are responsible for paying your own taxes in your own country. So I think that should be the simplest way to do things. And of course, you're probably wondering about how do I find these clients in the US? Again, subscribe and stay tuned for part 2 of this video. Once it's live, I'll also link it in the description box as well. But the next part of this video, I'm going to talk about how to form an LLC from outside the United States. And that would probably be in the case if your country requires you to have a business structure, a business entity when you're working as a contractor, which I believe in the United States that is a requirement for me. So that's why I started my own business and I have my own LLC, because in order to work as a contractor, I need to kind of have my own entity, my own business, so I can get paid as a contractor bookkeeper. So you are allowed to form an LLC if you live outside the United States. The only thing that may be a little bit tricky is opening a business bank account if that is something that you need to do. So the first thing you're going to need is figure out what state you want to form your LLC in. And a good thing to look at is taxes, like how much taxes are taken out, because it varies state by state. Some of the research that I looked into said Wyoming is a great place to form an LLC because there are pretty good tax benefits there. So once you figure out which state you want your LLC in, you kind of go through the same process as I did when I formed my business. And I have a whole video all about that. I think it's my most popular video. It's about how to start a bookkeeping business. So it talks about creating a name for your business, registering with your state, making a website, all that stuff. So you can check out that video here that goes into even more detail about some of those things if you would like. But just a quick overview here I'm going to go through. So you want to pick a name for your LLC, for your business. Then it's going to ask you for a registered agent. And this is usually an attorney. And when I first started my business, I used myself as a registered agent, so I was allowed to do that. I believe that is an option for you as well. Then you file your LLC with the state, which you can usually do on the state's website. Just search their state website and type it in the search box. It varies a little bit depending on the state. But back in the day, you had to do it all by mail and stuff, but now you can almost always do it online. And through that, part of that process is creating an operating agreement. Some of the phrasing might be you're filing your articles of organization, which all this sounds kind of complicated, but for my state, at least in Oregon, it just kind of walks you through the process step by step. All right, and then next you need to get an EIN, an employer identification number, so that you can get through the IRS. I'll leave a link for that in the description box. That is a pretty quick process, and that just is like a number that identifies your business. All right, and we're assuming as a bookkeeper you don't need a physical office, so you don't need to open a building in the United States, but you most likely will need a United States mailing address. So in my research, I found that there is companies that can provide a mailing address for you. For example, one of them was called Earth Class Mail. So you may need to do a little bit of digging and a little bit of research to figure out how to get that mailing address. And then you're going to need to figure out the best way for your clients to pay you. And in many cases, that might be having a bank account in the United States. That could be the easiest way. So if you travel to the United States and can open a bank account, that is great. It said in some cases, if you are a US citizen living abroad, you can open a bank account, especially if you have historically opened one. So maybe you had a bank account 10 years ago when you lived in the United States, some kind of baseline to open your new bank account, your business bank account. You also might want to look around regulations in your country about using services like PayPal, because that could possibly work without a bank account, depending on how you get paid. And again, in part 2, we're going to talk about how to get clients, and some of those methods of getting clients are websites like Fiverr that are already set up with a payment processing system. So you might not even need to worry about that. If you're only planning on utilizing a website like Fiverr and all of your payments are going through there, all of your clients are coming through there, you might not even need to set up your own system of payment if it's already included in how your clients pay you. And I do have a class all about setting up your bookkeeping business in 30 days. It's called Bookkeeper Business Coach, and I'll leave a link, of course, in the description box for you guys. And it does apply no matter where you live. So some of the things I'm going to speak about are specifically from a United States, from a US perspective, just because that's my perspective and what I know. If with a few tweaks, I really think you can still get a lot of value out of that class. But let me know in the comments if you guys have any more questions about this. And again, subscribe, give this video a like, and tune in for the next part 2 of how to get clients.